كل ما يخص التفكير النقدي لقصة الآمال الكبرى أو Great Expectations في 3 فيديوهات. الفيديو الأول تحليل شخصيات القصة، الفيديو الثاني تحليل مقتبسات أقوال شخصيات القصة، الفيديو الثالث أسئلة تفكير نقدي هامة خاصة وعامة.
All about the critical thinking of Great Expectations novel in 3 videos. The first is about character analysis, the second is about quotations analysis, and the third is about important critical thinking questions, general and in details.
معنى كلمة مقتبسات هي عبارات اتقالت موجودة في القصة، هنعرف صاحب العبارة دي وقالها لمين ونحلل العبارة من خلال مدلولها ورمزيتها.
Quotations. Who to whom? Quotation analysis. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Pip the narrator. It shows how was Pip afraid of the convict Magwitch. Do you know what a blacksmith's file is? Magwitch to Pip. The convict wanted to frighten Pip to bring him the file. I want you to bring me that file early tomorrow morning. And some food, too. Then I will let you live. What do you say? Magwitch to Pip. The convict wanted to frighten Pip to ensure that he bring the file and the food he needed. You're lucky not to have been put in the graveyard long ago. It's because of me that you're still here. But I didn't want to look after you. It's bad enough being a blacksmith's wife. I never asked to be your mother. Mrs. Joe to her brother Pip. It shows how she was unsatisfied her life with her brother and her husband Joe. We need a blacksmith to mend some handcuffs, please. Soldiers to Joe. Joe was a clever blacksmith. That coincidence also rescued Pip as his sister didn't know who took the meat pie. It was me. I stole the food from the blacksmith's house this morning. I'm sorry that I ate your meat pie. Magwitch to Joe. It shows that Magwitch was kind and grateful to Pip when he wanted to rescue Pip from punishment as he stole the meat pie for him. You're welcome. We don't want you to be hungry. Joe to Magwitch. It shows that Joe was kind and forgiven. I would rather she hit me than you. We'll always be best friends, won't we, Pip? Joe to Pip. It show how Joe was kind and a good friend to Pip. She doesn't know Pip. Uncle Pumblechook visited her, and she asked him if he knew a boy who would go there to play with a child who lives there. Mrs. Joe to Joe. It shows that Mrs. Joe and Uncle Pumblechook were greedy as they thought Miss Havisham would adopt Pip, then he would take her money. Do you know what I have here? It's your heart. A broken heart. Miss Havisham to Pip. It shows how she was sad. Lived in the dull past and lost desire of life after she was tricked by her half-brother and companion who stole her money and left her at the wedding. That wedding cake was brought here, a long time before you were born. Miss Havisham to Pip. It shows how she was sad. Lived in the dull past and lost desire of life after she was tricked by her half-brother and companion who stole her money and left her at the wedding. I am going to become Joe's apprentice and learn to be a blacksmith. Pip to Miss Havisham. Before Pip met Estella he had simple expectations. But there was something strange about Orlick, but I could not put my finger on what it was. Pip's view of Orlick was right, that he hated Mrs. Joe and hit her with a hammer. Orlick felt jealous of Pip and tried to kill him. I hope you don't want anything from me, because you will get nothing. Miss Havisham to Pip. It appears that Miss Havisham didn't intend to adopt Pip as Mrs. Joe and Uncle Pumblechook thought. She only wanted him to love Estella to break his heart. She has gone away for her education and she will become a lady. Do you feel that you have lost her, Pip? Miss Havisham to Pip. She wanted Pip to love Estella to break his heart. She wanted to take revenge on men. But don't you think you are happier as you are, Pip? Biddy to Pip. She was wise and realized that Pip changed, so she wanted to make Pip satisfied his life. I will never be happy unless I can lead a different life to the one I live now. Pip to Biddy. After Pip had met Estella, he changed and became unsatisfied his life and had great expectations. He wanted to be a wealthy, educated gentleman. Ever since I met Estella at Miss Havisham's, I have wanted to improve myself. She is so beautiful and clever, and I admire her very much. Pip. After Pip had met Estella, he changed and became unsatisfied his life and had great expectations. He wanted to be a wealthy, educated gentleman. Do you want to become a gentleman to upset her? Or to marry her? If you want to upset her, then you shouldn't care what she thinks. If you want to marry her, she probably isn't worth the effort. Biddy to Pip. She was wise and realized that Pip changed, so she wanted to make Pip satisfied his life. I have to tell you that Pip has great expectations. He will receive a large amount of property in future, so now he must have an education. The only condition is that he does not ask who his benefactor is. Mr. Jaggers to Joe. The coincidence played a role to make Pip's great expectations come true. I don't want all the poor people in this village to see me in my fine clothes. Pip. After Pip had met Estella, he changed and became unsatisfied his life and had great expectations. He wanted to be a wealthy, educated gentleman. And you have a good life ahead of you. But remember to follow Mr. Jaggers' advice. Miss Havisham to Pip. She deceived Pip and made him think that she was his benefactor. However, I had a strange feeling that he would never become rich. Pip. Pip thought that Herbert Pocket was satisfied. Miss Havisham didn't adopt him and he didn't want to marry Estella. I think I have had a lucky escape. Estella is proud and cruel. Miss Havisham adopted her, you know. She wants to use her, to take revenge on men. Herbert to Pip. He was wise and satisfied and didn't have great expectations like him. Miss Havisham didn't adopt him and he didn't want to marry Estella. But why didn't Miss Havisham's fiancé marry her? I asked. He would have had all her property then. Pip to Herbert. Pip thought Miss Havisham's fiancé was married and he and her half-brother had planned to take as much money from her as they could. I want to see the man who'll dare to rob me. Mr. Jaggers. It shows how he was strong and all criminals were afraid of him. But I didn't enjoy it at all. I don't know why I said some of the things I did, but being among these people seemed to make me behave that way. Pip. Pip was affected by the boastful way in which Drummle talked about his skills. I am writing to you at the request of Mr. Joe Gargery to let you know that he is going to be in London and would be very glad to see you. Biddy to Pip. This letter shows how Biddy and Joe were sincere, kind and faithful, although Pip was on the contrary. He became proud and ashamed of his past life. I was sorry that I had been so unfriendly to Joe. I hurried outside, hoping to call him back, but it was too late. I could not see him anywhere. Pip. It shows though Pip was proud and ashamed of his past life, he had a good nature and felt regret and guilt. Magwitch didn't know me then, but he gave me a shiny new coin to give to that boy, if I ever found him. And I did. Pip. It means how Pip changed. Magwitch didn't know him, as he was older and dressed like a gentleman. That Estella was proud and rude to you. Don't you remember? Miss Havisham to Pip. Miss Havisham brought Estella to take revenge on men including Pip and break their hearts like her. But, you know I have no heart. I am neither kind nor good. Estella to Pip. It shows that she was honest with Pip and didn't deceive him, but he deceived himself. As she spoke, she reminded me of someone, but I did not know who it was. Pip. Estella was similar to her mother Molly. If she is cruel, love her. If she breaks your heart, love her. I made her what she is, to be loved. Miss Havisham to Pip. Miss Havisham brought Estella to take revenge on men, including Pip, and break their hearts like her. I'll tell you what real love is. It is giving your heart to someone completely, just as I did. Miss Havisham to Pip. Miss Havisham brought Estella to take revenge on men, including Pip, and break their hearts like her. This was the first time that Estella had called me Pip. I was delighted, and thought it would be wonderful if I married Estella and lived in Richmond with her. But in my heart, I knew the truth. Estella would never make me happy. Pip. Pip deceived himself. He had great expectations to marry Estella, who was cruel and proud and didn't love him. I knew that I had changed, and not for the best, since I had met Mr. Jaggers and learnt that I was to become a gentleman. Pip had great expectations to marry Estella. He became proud, extravagant, and ashamed of his past life. I sometimes wished that I had never met Miss Havisham. I also felt guilty for two reasons. Pip had great expectations to marry Estella. He became proud, extravagant, and ashamed of his past life. You know that I want to trick all of my admirers, she replied. All of them, apart from you. Estella to Pip. She was honest with Pip and didn't deceive him like other men, as Miss Havisham brought her to take revenge on men and break their hearts. I realized that they knew me better than I knew myself. Pip, Biddy and Joe were wise. They knew that Pip became proud and ashamed of his past life. When I saw how happy he was, it seemed that my expectations had done some good at last. Although Pip's great expectations made him proud, extravagant, and ashamed of his past life, he still had a good nature and felt regret and guilty. I have never forgotten what you did for me that day, Pip. Yes, Pip, I've made a gentleman of you. I'm your second father. Pip, you mean more to me than any son. Magwitch to Pip. He was grateful and kind to Pip, who helped him and brought him a file and food. Did you not think that I might be your benefactor? Magwitch to Pip. He was grateful and kind to Pip, who helped him and brought him a file and food. And this convict had made me leave Joe for a new life in London. Unfortunately, he confirmed that Provis was my benefactor. Pip was hesitating between being grateful to Provis and helping him escape, and the bad source of money with which he helped him become a wealthy gentleman. We'll make you a gentleman, too, my boy. Magwitch to Herbert. He wanted to be grateful to Herbert, who helped Pip and welcomed him. Well, you can see that I didn't stay there for life. I had to come back to see you, Pip. Magwitch to Pip. He was grateful and kind to Pip, who helped him and brought him a file and food. I know now who my benefactor really is, and I realize that until now, I have misunderstood everything. Pip Pip was hesitating between being grateful to Provis and helping him escape and the bad source of money with which he helped him become a wealthy gentleman. You believed what you wanted to believe. Miss Havisham to Pip. Pip let himself be deceived when she misled him and let him think that she was his BB factor. Forgive me, Pip. I used her to break your heart. But if you knew my story, you would pity me. It is my fault that Estella is so cruel. Forgive me, Pip. Miss Havisham to Pip. She felt regret and guilt as she brought Estella to take revenge on men and break their hearts like her. I am going to stop you. You have always spoiled things for me. I lost my job at Miss Havisham's because of you. And you told Biddy not to trust me. Orlick to Pip. Orlick always felt jealous of Pip. He hated him and wanted to take revenge on him and his sister, who was hit with a hammer by him, and finally he decided to kill Pip. Your daughter is still alive. She is very beautiful, and I love her. Pip T.P. Provis. Pip wanted to be grateful to him as he still tried to help him until the last moment, even before he died. I wanted to tell her how sorry I was that I had hurt her in the past, and I hoped now that she might marry me. Pip. Pip finally felt guilt and regret that he hadn't seen true love in Biddy, but it was too late. It's my wedding day, Pip, Biddy said, happily. Joe and I have just got married. Biddy to Pip. Pip finally felt guilt and regret that he hadn't seen true love in Biddy, but it was too late. Birds of a feather flocked together, so it was suitable for Joe to marry Biddy as they were both kind and satisfied. You have the best husband in the world, Biddy, and Joe, you have the best wife. I am so lucky to know such good people. I have been hurt, just as much as I hurt you, and now I understand how you felt. Please tell me that we are friends, Pip. Pip to Biddy and Joe. Pip finally felt guilt and regret that he hadn't seen true love in Biddy, but it was too late. Birds of a feather flocked together, so it was suitable for Joe to marry Biddy as they were both kind and satisfied. As we left the untidy garden, I felt sure, however, that we would never be apart again. Pip. Pip and Estella finally met together after hard experiences. Both got rid of the dull past. Because I am what you made me. Estella to Miss Havisham. Estella blamed Miss Havisham, who brought her to be cruel and unkind, to take revenge on men and break their hearts.